Have you ever fantasized about quitting your job in a very dramatic fashion?
Like flicking off your colleagues, taking a bat to the printer office space style, stealing all the snacks, and leaving out the door.
If so, you are not alone.
That's right. Experts are calling 2025 the year of the revenge quit. And here's why you shouldn't do it.
No, why you should.
Kayla, hot take for you. Revenge quitting, it's a psyop.
It's a psyop?
It's a psyop.
Bro, what is a psyop? Let's define
I don't
that.
know. I heard a lot of people say it and it sounded cool. I have no idea what it means. No, it every year. Why does every year
Yes.
we just pick a word? Last year was quiet quitting. Rage quitting was a word a while ago, rage applying. And all of a sudden everyone writes articles about it. It's like for the Great Resignation. I've never heard anyone, a normal person, use any of these terms once in their entire life.
Okay.
Revenge quitting is now this term that in 2025, every publication has decided we're going to say it's the year of revenge quitting. I don't buy it. What does that even mean? It's a psyop.
It's a psyop, but what is the goal of the psyop?
I don't even know. Get
Okay.
clicks because
Okay, yes.
that
yes.
one publication will write about it
Yeah.
based on one stat from one study that no one's ever heard about. And then some other companies like, oh, they're writing about it. We have to write about it. And then all it trickles down to the podcaster class. And then per my last email has to talk about it, which is where we find ourselves today talking about, is 2025 the year of the revenge quit?
Okay, but it is.
Okay, say more.
That's the thing. So, yes.
Should we define
Let's define it.
revenge quit first? You take it away.
I agree. I am sick and tired of quiet quitting, which is just doing your job, or sneaky layoffs, which, for the record, we are guilty of talking about every single one of these trends because they're fun.
Yeah.
And they're real.
They're perfect fodder for the podcasters.
Exactly. That being said, I do think we're going to see revenge quitting, and I think it's a very real potential reaction to what we've seen over the last few years.
Okay.
What is it?
Define it.
It depends on what publication you're reading. Some of the publications are saying it's finding a better job and leaving your current job for that job.
Can we pause there? That's just called quitting.
That's just doing what you're supposed to do.
They're
in
like,
your career.
revenge. You found a better opportunity and took it.
Yeah.
That's life.
That is dumb. That I don't believe is revenge quitting, but I do think there is this actual thing
Okay.
which is happening maybe more or will happen more in 2025.
Okay.
Which is quitting in such a way that is like, you do not care about me as a person, my company, and I do not care about you, and I'm going to leave at an inopportune time because F you.
Okay.
That is a revenge quitting in my mind, and that is what I think we should talk about because I see it.
Okay.
I totally see that.
I want to talk about why you think 2025 will be the year of revenge quitting.
Yeah.
But just for me to get the definition straight.
Sure.
And for everyone listening to get the definition straight. Revenge quitting is like intentionally leaving at a time that doesn't only help you, it like hurts the company or the people at the company that you're sick of. You leave at an inopportune time and it's like, sorry, like I got a new opportunity and I actually actively hope it doesn't work out for you.
Yeah, or like quitting in the heat of the moment.
Okay.
Like, oh, you think that you own me? Like, no, I quit.
Okay, interesting. So what you're saying is that eventually people are getting like so frustrated and instead of quiet quitting, whereas like people just said, okay, I'm pissed. I'm going to do the bare minimum and just like not even try and coast and like fire me if you want, whatever. You're saying this is much more active. It's loud quitting, if you will. And it's like, no, I'm not just going to coast. I'm going to leave.
Yeah.
Like I'm fed up. I'm not doing this anymore. Peace out. Bye. I wish you no luck.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, all right. Interesting. Why do you think that's going to happen in 2025?
So, thank you for setting that up.
Yeah.
The last 4 years have been an interesting time in the labor market where
I love when you put on your economist hat.
things have not made a lot of sense. At first, it was very clearly an employee-powered market where this is when we were getting, a lot more perks. We were getting the foosball tables. We were getting free lunches. We were getting super high salaries.
Draft beers. Come on now.
Draft beers. This is the WeWork era. And maybe that was a little earlier. But anyways, recently it's switched. People have been getting laid off, which means that there's more of an employee pool looking for new jobs, and there's less jobs to fill them. So as of right now, there's 1.6 million workers that are still actively in the workforce or in the employment pool, like looking for jobs. and they haven't been able to find one for more than 6 months. That is up 50% from 2022, according to the Labor Department.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is a reference.
I know.
I'm impressed.
And it really struck me because it's like that's a huge increase in just 2 years of people that are spinning their wheels trying to find. Anyways, all this to say, I'm gonna get off track.
You went deep on like the Labor Department stats. It's very helpful.
I'm gonna get off track, but this means that it has been very hard for people who are unemployed and people who are currently either underemployed or employed at a place that they don't want to work at anymore to find a new job. People have been quiet quitting and in the market for a while.
Yeah.
The expectation, the reason why 2025 is going to be the year of revenge quitting is because the expectation is perhaps that's going to lighten up a little bit.
Okay, so you're saying the last couple of years, if you quit, it was very hard to find a new job,
Yes.
or you got laid off, unfortunately, or you've been unemployed for a while and you're actively looking, you can't find anything.
Yep.
And the idea is that 2025, business is booming,
So-
profits are up, the sky is raining dollars,
I
and
don't know about
because of that, the labor market loosens up a bit, and now you have more mobility, so you're more confident in telling your boss, F you, I quit.
Yes.
I'm going to go find something else.
So the big stat that
Okay.
everyone is citing as they're saying this is going to be the year of the revenge quit is the fact that 65% of workers are unhappy at their job, according to this Glassdoor workplace trends of 2025.
Which, to your point, this was the one stat
This is
that
the one
every
stat.
article, like this was the stat that launched 1,000 ships.
Yes.
So we have Glassdoor to thank for revenge quitting.
And so keep me honest with the second part of this. 65% of workers are unhappy at their jobs, and also the quit rate is the lowest it's been for 4 years.
Yeah.
So what this means is people are stuck. There's a lot of latent demand
Yes.
for for turnover, and people have felt that they cannot leave. That creates a lot of resentment. And where you might have hey, I'm looking for a new opportunity. Thank you so much. I'm going to give my 2 weeks, maybe even 3 weeks. I'll help you with the transition. It's like this has been a toxic work environment that I've hated for 4 years. As soon as I get an opportunity, I am quitting in a way that feels very helpful to me and very harmful to you.
It's like cathartic. Like I need to
Yeah.
quit in such a way that gives me this emotional
release.
recharge. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Okay, so I really like how you broke this down, and that Glassdoor study is interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, it's literally getting cited everywhere. So we'll link it in the show notes. Said 65% of people feel stuck. I think the most important thing you said is this latent demand, pent up demand. And that's how I would think about revenge quitting too. It's like everyone wanted to quit, or people that did want to quit over the past 2 years didn't feel like they could.
Yep.
Like their job currently was at risk. People weren't hiring. It was the year of efficiency. AI's taking all these jobs. I don't want to leave, even if it's bad, because I don't have a plan B. And apparently in 2025, that's going to change. That's my take is no, it's not.
Yeah.
If anything, I think it's going to continue to be not rough sailing, but I think the year of efficiency and when people leave, not hiring someone back is only going to continue. And if AI has 1% of the power that many people proclaim it is, that's still thousands of jobs that maybe don't get rehired. I would still be nervous as an employee that there's a ton of options out there, personally.
I actually do agree. And I think that this is we'll have to see if this ends up happening. But I think this is just a reaction to what we've been seeing over the past few years, which is this pent up demand for people to change jobs.
And so I want to bring up another survey that was referenced in a lot of these articles, like Business Insider, Forbes, Harper's Bazaar, wrote about the revenge quit. So go check those out. But in one of those articles, it had a survey from Blind Survey, and it was about Amazon. I don't know who Blind Survey is because we don't check our sources here, but they seem very credible. Anyway, according to them, Amazon, when they announced their return to office mandate, which we did an amazing episode on, 73% of people were thinking about leaving because of that policy, and 80% claim they know coworkers who feel that way, who want to leave because of that policy. Now, this is where I think you could say, oh, the year of revenge quitting is here because think of all these people who want to leave. My counter argument is that's exactly the intended goal of the return to office mandate that Amazon had, which is we want to fire a lot of people. We want to lay a lot of people off, but we aren't going to tell them that to their face. This is better from a PR perspective. So we're going to force these return to office mandates, hope everyone leaves, and that actually helps us. And if Amazon's thinking that way, I think other companies are also thinking that way, that they're bloated. We don't need all of these people. AI is driving efficiencies. So I think it's like the exact opposite of what the survey is implying is going to happen.
As in, the exact opposite is like...
As in, if you leave, like, oh, all these people want to leave, there's pent-up demand, which might be true. I just don't think there's necessarily jobs for them on the other side.
Yeah. Which is why the idea of revenge quitting, I think, is dangerous, even though I am pro doing that.
Even though it feels so good.
I love that for you. But I just think that you should revenge quit and also have a job lined up.
So let's talk about that. Why do you love the idea of revenge quitting?
Okay. Look at me. Zoom in, please. Your company hates you. No.
Kayla, I'll let you finish. I'll let you finish.
Your company is not your family, okay? Look at me. I'm serious. Your company would fire you if it meant they got a firm handshake, a Tic Tac, and 35 cents in additional profit, okay? So if you want to revenge quit and you want to make your company a little inconvenienced for a few weeks, go for it.
Okay.
End rant.
Incredible take. A firm handshake, a
Tic Tac,
and 35 cents. You sound like my grandpa. Like, I've actually never heard that phrase. I think I
came up with it.
You just invented it.
No, because I think that's the threshold.
Catching on. All right. Well, I have to vehemently disagree.
Okay, great.
I think that is, it's a very pessimistic way to look at the world.
Perhaps.
And like, okay, people are going to write in, well, my company would do that. Sure. There's probably some companies that are like extremely toxic. I just think that they're in the minority as a percentage. And I think you are doing yourself a disservice if that is genuinely your belief about every company, because then every role you're in, you're thinking this, I'm dispensable. This company would F me over if possible. Like, I just think it's a sad way to live. And like, to me, it would bum me out. I'm a believer that like, if you have the right team, a great leader, a great company, like people actually do care. I wholeheartedly agree. It's not a family. It's a sports team. They're here to make profits, but I think you can, in those constraints, still have some humanity in the workplace that isn't that pessimistic.
So I still disagree with you, actually.
Okay.
But where I agree with
I like that you thought about it for a second.
No. Where I agree with you is I think there's a difference between a company and a team.
Okay.
And I think the team that's around you is like, unless those individuals are toxic, like they're people, right? And they're probably working.
Yeah, like they have a family too. It's not like they're like waking up and being like, I'm gonna find a Tic Tac and fire this guy.
Well, yeah, but actually I do think there's probably some people, but I don't think it's the majority. I agree. The company as a whole is made up of people, yes, but is designed to maximize profits.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people think this as well, that comes at the expense of their individual employees. If it is adding value to shareholders versus continuing to employ somebody for an extra few years.
Yeah. Okay. So I agree. I mean, breaking news, everyone, we do live in a capitalistic society.
Yeah.
So I'm with you. Like the goal of a company is, and many people argue should be, to maximize profit, shareholder value, whatever, insert, capitalism lingo here. However, I think it is a false conclusion to say because of that, the only way to do that is to view your employees as indispensable, to screw them over at all costs. I think that maybe is a short-term solution that a lot of companies deploy that I don't think is in the best interest long-term of the company. I think if you want to build a company that does bring shareholder value over the long period, and we can do a whole other podcast on like,
we're veering.
If there's like short-term incentives or long-term incentives for companies, but my point would be, if you want to win consistently year over year, you have to attract the best talent because smart people don't want to work at shitty companies. And in order to do that, you have to treat your employees fairly. You have to give them a mission that's exciting. You have to put them around a team of people that care about them. And if you don't, maybe you can nickel and dime a few years and maximize profits. But after that, no one is going to want to work with you. So I think that over the long term, those incentives can be aligned. And it's not guaranteed that this company, is terrible.
Yes, but.
Okay.
In the last.
It's actually yes and.
No,
okay.
It's yes, but here. We're not playing improv, people. Yes, but the incentives have been skewed towards the company over the last few years.
Okay.
Because yes, you're right. If you're as a company terrible to your employees, nobody's going to want to work there. But if you can't find a job anywhere else, sorry, you still have to work there.
Correct.
And so it's like, I agree that in an ideal world, when the incentives are aligned, like, sure, capitalism works, you know? But I think that right now, what I'm saying and what this revenge quitting idea is getting at is the incentives, or like, it's been asymmetric towards the companies for the last few years.
Yeah, I agree.
And so it's easy to kind of feel like more comfortable exploiting your employees. And I don't mean exploit in like the most negative terms, like doing crimes, but like exploiting, like taking advantage of the fact that they're probably not going to leave and therefore not giving them additional salary that they deserve or not giving them additional opportunities, career growth. And so there's that stagnation for these employees. They feel like they can't leave. And why would a company give somebody more money if they're stuck here? Right? The labor market is tough right now.
Yeah. And which brings us back to the point. If the labor market does improve in 2025, then this idea of the revenge quit becomes a lot more possible.
Yeah.
Because people can say, oh, now I can leave. And maybe that does affect the behavior of employers who are like, okay, the market's a lot better. We actually have to try to retain our employees. Like, if employees had a lot of power, I don't think we'd be seeing the RTO mandates that we're seeing from Amazon, 100%. JP Morgan, all of those companies.
And we'll be right back after this. Okay, back to the show.
Okay, let's get back to quitting.
Yeah.
Because we've both quit jobs.
What?
Yes, breaking news. Not this one, though. And like, how did you think about leaving your previous job? Do you think you quit on good terms, or did you rock a revenge quit?
I did not rock a revenge quit. And this is one of the things that I think is important here is that the revenge quit to me also, and now I'm going to like kind of go back on everything I just, the revenge quit is also like the idea that like, you'll be sorry when I leave, like you will. And like, we've just discussed this. Like, I actually don't think a company will be sorry. Like, for the most part, being like, I am so important that I'm going to quit and you're going to feel the pain probably is true for your team, but for the company as a whole, they will not notice unless there's like, you know, revenge quitting en masse.
Yep.
My first job where I quit like with malice, was I was a baby, right? Like I had been working for 2 years. I quit and I had no thoughts that my quitting was going to impact the company in any way, shape, or form because they spent all of their time telling me that I was unimportant and dispensable.
You were realistic about it.
Yeah. That being said, my now husband and I actually quit at the same time. We took our boss, it's actually our boss's boss, on a little walk around the like office park. And
sounds like you're taking your kid and you're like, Mom and Dad have some news.
Yeah, literally. We're like, we're leaving. It's not you, it's us. And he was like, Kayla, I don't care about you, but like, Ryan, please stay.
Oh, he did some revenge, kung fu move back.
That was wild. But like, we were both like, no, we're moving to New York. Like, sorry, we're leaving.
That's tough.
I also then one of the reasons why this may be true is not because I was a bad worker, for the record. I was very overachieving. But because 3 days later, my entire division got laid off.
Yeah, and you missed out on severance, right?
Missed out on 2 months severance, which is a different
story.
So
the company screwed you once again. Yeah.
Twice. But so long story short, I did not feel like it was a revenge quit. It did feel nice to quit and to be like, I'm going into an industry that's like going to be better for me. Mm-hmm. But I wasn't like, I've chosen this specifically on a day that's going to hurt you. It was just like 3 days after I got my bonus.
Yeah. Would you ever revenge quit if you thought that the situation like called for it? Like, are you someone who would be like, if I could screw this company over, it'd be kind of a nice bonus on my way out?
Yes, I would.
Okay.
But I mean, I would not revenge quit in the way that's like, I'm pissed, I've been wronged in some way, and therefore I'm not going to think through it, I'm just going to quit.
Okay.
And I also wouldn't be too like, I'm going to put my notice in exactly this day that's going to hurt them the most. Because again, it's like, I'm not that important to the company, and the company doesn't really care. They'll figure it out.
Yep.
There's latent demand, so they'll hire somebody within 72 hours if they have to.
Right.
That being said, I do think that I would quit because I felt like I was mistreated in the workplace, and I would quit as soon as possible.
Yeah.
What about you? Quitting first. Tell us a story about you quitting, and then tell us.
I've only
revenge
quit one job because all my other jobs were like AmeriCorps just like ends.
Yeah.
They don't even give you a chance to revenge quit. They're like, we just fire you when you take the job, we plan to fire you in 10 months.
Right.
It's a term of service. Then I was in grad school that ended, so my employment through that program ended. So the only job I actually quit was my previous job at Marquette. It was like the opposite of revenge quitting. It was like bittersweet. Like I loved that job. I loved my whole team, and it was really impactful to my career. It just was one of those situations where like I thought that Morning Brew was like a better opportunity for me. I could learn more. I'd already learned a ton from that previous role. So I did it with like the opposite of bad intentions. I was like, I love you all, and I feel kind of bittersweet about this departure. So that was really lovely. So I haven't had an experience, honestly, of a workplace that's been so bad where I felt like revenge quitting would be nice. So, I'm kind of making it up that I would never, because maybe I would. I haven't been in that situation before.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could have guessed that.
Well, okay. So I've maybe like two, I don't think they're hot takes, but two things to think about. The first is there's that famous like Zen quote, which is like, wherever you go, there you are. And
What? Okay. Okay.
wherever you go, there you are.
Yeah, great.
You had not heard this before?
I have not heard that, but continue.
Okay, the idea is that the one constant in your life is you. And I do think that this is not everyone, but most people, maybe myself included, we often don't think about how we're contributing to a problem. We think about like all of the other, like, oh, it's the company, it's my team. We don't think we're playing a role in it at all. And I think a lot of revenge quitting is like this frustration that it's everyone else's fault and there's like nothing I can do about it. And going back to your take earlier where you're like, every company would fire you just for like a thumbs up and a high five and a tic tac. Like, I think if you have
some profit for the record.
If you have that mentality, you take it everywhere you go, and you're always going to feel like someone's out to screw you. And I would rather live with like optimistic naivete, where I think most people are good people. That's my working model of the world. And if I get screwed once, okay, that's the price I pay for being optimistically naive. But most of the time, people, I think, treat you well. And like, I think that is a better way to live. So my whole point is like, first, there maybe is something you can do about it. Like, whether that is just changing your mind. And I'm not saying you're in a crazy toxic workplace, like, oh, have you tried smiling more? Like, in a normal work environment, if something isn't going good, like, just think, what are you contributing to it? The second thing is, I feel like people do not exhaust their options at their current employer before jumping to the conclusion that they have to quit and they have to go find a new job. Sometimes you're just like a difficult conversation away from remedying whatever it might be. And so I have mad respect for anyone. And in fact, one of our friends just did this where like they had a pretty difficult conversation with a boss about like, hey, I really like the company, but like our relationship is a little not what I really, really want. It's a little fraught and I'd like to change it. And to me, that is the like agency. That's the energy that a lot of people could benefit from, myself included. We can always improve about trying to make the current situation the best it can be before you say, F it, I'm going to quit. So maybe revenge quitting is fine, but first exhaust all your options before you get there. I feel like your face says you hated everything I said.
No.
No?
Only most of it.
Okay.
No. I think that what we're talking about, this specific like confluence of factors that have existed to create the year of the revenge quit is like that trying to make things better, spinning your wheels at your existing place, feeling stuck, and then being unable to do anything to get out of it. And I think that there's this like, I do agree. Yeah, I guess I wish I was more like optimistic as a person and like viewed everyone as good people or whatever. And like, but I think that's entirely separate from this.
Okay.
Which is like there's something so destabilizing about feeling that if you lose this job, the chances that you find something else equivalent or even like one step worse is low, is very, very scary.
Yeah.
And so you have to have a lot of confidence to go into a room and have a difficult conversation with your boss,
Yep.
especially if it goes wrong. Then if you lose your job or things get materially worse to the point where like you really do have to quit, that's really scary. You may not have employment lined up and you may be searching. 1.6 million people are still searching
Yep.
6 months later. And that's a huge increase from 2022. So I think that I agree with you in a perfect world. What I think the revenge quitting is doing is it's like, I've exhausted all of these options.
Yeah, you've already tried doing all that stuff.
Tried everything. And again, I'm sure there are some people that haven't.
Yeah.
Right? But this is my understanding is like when you're stuck somewhere for 4 years or multiple years, you feel like you can't quit. You don't have any agency. Like that creates this like emotional response where you're like, F this company,
Yeah.
you know?
No, it's a really good point, and I agree with everything you said. I think it's a great reframe. It's like once you have tried, then if you genuinely are just like stuck, it's very frustrating.
Yeah.
And so if the labor market opens up, like, hello, revenge quitting, I've been waiting for you.
Yeah.
Let's go. I also think to a counter argument against me is like it is probably a form of privilege to be able to go through the world optimistically naive that most people. It's been my experience, but like that's one experience, and I have a lot of privilege to have those experiences. And so you've raised a good point. Like it depends on your situation, and this might be very attractive for people who have tried everything in their power to get out and couldn't.
Yeah. So do you have any like stories or anecdotes? I was on Reddit looking for revenge quitting examples, and I have a few good ones. But I think it's kind of fun. So have you heard of anyone revenge quitting?
No, I'm not going to top your Reddit stories. So what did Reddit say about revenge
Well,
quitting?
there's a ton of Reddit stories, and some are personal, some like whatever. I've seen this anecdotally in my circle of friends and colleagues. And
Okay,
everything.
say more.
Well, I think that the Reddit ones are great, so I'm going to pull from those. But there are situations where like when you're treated poorly and your like existence is constantly like downplayed and your efforts are constantly downplayed, like that wears on you. And so there's one story where these two people were basically working like dogs, right? Like crazy hours and completely disregarded. And then they both separately started finding other jobs. They quit on the same day.
Yeah.
It was 2/3 of the team.
Yeah.
They both quit. And then their boss was like, was this planned? And they were like, no, not at all. Had no idea what was happening. So I think those are like really fun.
Yeah, it's like revenge is a dish best served cold. Like, oh, we had no idea.
Oh, sorry.
Happenstance.
I guess your team just really sucks.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think my takeaway from that story would not be like, oh, these employees. It would be like, how have you created an environment
Yes.
where your workers literally want to team up to leave at the same time to screw you? Like that to me, like you've created a very toxic environment.
And that's like, yeah, exactly. And that should be a signal. If I was going to give a tactic for employers about how to prevent the year of revenge quitting from hitting you, first of all, it's like treat your employees well. But also, I think use those signals. Yes, I understand that when somebody leaves and there's an exit interview, typically it's just a formality, but there are also nuggets in there of truth.
Yep.
And use those.
Big time.
I've talked to people that have left their jobs specifically because maybe a manager was toxic, and they've said like, I've pointed this out in my interview or in my exit interview, and I don't think anything's going to happen because people sometimes will look at these as
It's just a formality, like
they're
whatever.
just
We're not going
mad.
to do anything.
Yeah.
Yep.
So if you truly want to prevent the year of revenge quitting from hitting your company, I think take those things seriously. I would also consider giving additional, like maybe non-expenditure related opportunities. So yeah, if you can do L&D, or if you can like show people that there's career growth in the future, maybe you can make people feel a little bit more excited about working with you.
Yep.
What about you? Do you have any tactics?
I mean, I think those are all good. I would say it's not so much a tactic, but a quote I've heard that has stayed with me for a long time, which is like people join a company, but they leave because of a manager. And a lot of these revenge quitting articles cited that it was like poor managers that lead to terrible teams that then people feel stuck in. And so I think investing in managers, the idea that someone can just get promoted to a manager and be excellent at it is so wrong. And it actually takes a lot of skill and training and development to be a great manager. And I think companies often overlook that. And that's where you get these like pretty vicious
Yeah.
cycles. So I would say definitely invest in manager training. The other thing I would say for someone that's thinking about revenge quitting is also like just being aware of power. Like if it's a small industry and the company you're leaving
Yeah.
does have some sway, or like, you know, the boss is going to talk to other people and like it might impact your job in that industry. Like, I'm not saying that's right. I'm just saying be realistic about if you're going to take a bat to the printer, that might get out and it might impact your ability to land a new job in that industry. So just be careful of like who you piss off, I guess, is my broad takeaway.
And also, revenge quit, please. Revenge quit and send us an email describing it.
Yes.
That being said, have something lined up.
Yes. We would love to hear if you're planning on revenge quitting, your craziest quit stories. Per my last email at morningbrew.com. Let us know or tag us on LinkedIn, Twitter, somewhere you can find us. I'm very excited to hear people's reaction to the revenge quitting story.
I know. I think it's pretty polarizing.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, we had a...
Yeah, we're not friends anymore.
No.
Yeah.
That happened right now.
All right, should we roll the credits?
Let's do it.
Our producer is Michaela Hack.
Our technical director is Uchenna Ogu.
Sol Weeman is our creative strategy associate.
And our chief content officer is Devin Emery.
This show is a production of Morning Brew.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Get your revenge on.